Hi, everyone. It's Jonna. It's really good to see you at the start of the day and the start of the week. I hope you're feeling optimistic. And if you're not, I hope you're feeling encouraged to remember that no feeling is final. Things are always changing, and there's always an opportunity to start over. This year, as we're coming into March, I've been reading through the Bible in a year using an online prompt to choose the scripture verses that I read every day. And it's been a really insightful practice. I've done this before, but it's been a while since I read the Bible through. And it's interesting to revisit stories that I've been familiar with since I was a girl. And one of the starting points, right, the the structure that I'm using has an Old Testament verse, a New Testament verse, and a Psalm so far. I mean, eventually we're gonna run out of Psalms, so I don't know where the shift will go from there. But as I read through the Psalms, like the Psalms have been such a great comfort to me in my life and in my faith journey. But to read them through day after day, you have a sense, or I have a sense, after working in healthcare for so long, of an opportunity for some emotional regulation skills for the psalmist. Now, I don't say that to be dismissive, and I know these were not written to be read in order like a book, but it really brought to mind for me a quote which has lived in my mind long enough that's probably more of a paraphrase at this point, from Rob Bell, who is an author and a speaker. And he says effectively that when we notice the story about God changing in sacred texts, that it's really people's opinions about God that are changing. And I think that's true when we look at the Psalms, where the psalmist, again, I know there's a great diversity to the sources of these texts that I'm reading through day after day. Um, that there are experiences of coming to God for solace, coming to God and asking for vengeance, coming to God angry, coming to God grateful, and it's a little dizzying to read through day after day, but it is very reflective of our experiences, right? There are all of those emotions and all of those experiences in our lives and in ourselves. Um, there was a stand-up comedian named Christopher Titus who had a television show in the early 2000s and speaks often um, and and with intensity about the family system he was brought up in and how not normal it was. I don't know that he says dysfunctional a lot, but it's sort of this idea of a dysfunctional family system. But he also talks about his family with a lot of love and a lot of reverence. And for me, these ideas go together. Um, Titus has a new special on YouTube called Carrying Monsters, and he reflects on the pattern of tragedy in his life. But he also speaks really, I think, impactfully and powerfully about trying again, starting again, beginning again when things feel overwhelming. Because he sort of effectively tells us there's more to live for than the tragedy of the moment. Maybe I'm putting words in his mouth. But I think in the Psalms, when we're whether it's the Psalms or any sacred text, any scripture where we're reading someone else's story through our lens, it's helpful to think about that Rob Bell quote, that we're seeing God through the own changing lenses of our experiences. So we're coming into a new month, and it's still the first quarter of the year, although it feels like it's moving pretty quickly. So I hope that you'll find practices that help you notice and remember how things are changing for you, whether it's a daily reading practice or journaling or checking in with someone who loves you, who could speak honestly about the patterns that they notice for you. Because our patterns really impact us. The lenses we're using to view things impact how we see the world around us. That's not a bad thing. That's a really important and powerful part of our creativity. But it also helps us to notice the lenses are there, to remember that sometimes we're not seeing things as they are, we're seeing things as we are. And in some sense, that's our superpower, right? But only if we know that we're using it. So, a closing thought for this short reflection on a Sunday morning from Dr. Kristen Neff, who teaches us about the value of self compassion. Self compassion is rooted in the loving kindness practice from Buddhism, and it's made of three parts. That when we're struggling, we speak kindly to ourselves like we would to someone we love. That we remember every life has some struggle in it. Our struggles actually unite us more than they divide us. And that our lives are more than any single struggle that we face. So, just like the psalmist who is in the midst of great anger, writing this personal lament about the difficulty of things, remember that's not the whole story. That's one psalm in a whole book. It's not what's that? The song "Roses Need Rain," right? It's not. It's just a bad day, not a bad life. Grant yourself perspective. Let the horizons soften. Think about the bigness of your life, and just remember that you got this.